Are there any questions that anybody would like to ask Bob? I've nothing on the chat at the moment. So I'll ask a quick question, Bob. How long have you been building this layout that you've got?
Well, I started with ON30 Town really by mistake. I was lucky enough to go to Colorado and went on the Durango and Silverton, and that got me into American narrow gauge. And I was at the time building, same as most of us, Great Western, which there's some great layouts about, but I found that the ON30 really suited me with larger figures and so on. And I came back from Colorado, and just by chance, Bachmann had brought out their ON30 layouts. And the model club I was in at the time, some guy said, look, I've got this one to sell. I've never used it. I got no idea what ON30 was really, but I bought it off him and sort of got into it by mistake, and never looked back since, actually. And that was 15, 18 years ago. And I've enjoyed it because I've built 3 exhibition layouts, and I found that with the Great Western, people would come round and you've got the rivet counters and so on. Well, with the layouts I built now, there's nothing to refer back to because they're all freelance. So I do enjoy our N30, and I've done 3 exhibition layouts, and they've all gone well. And hopefully I'll be back at the NEC year after this. So I've built 3 small layouts, which has took up my time when I'm not working up here in the summer.
Right. There's been a message come up from Chris saying, I'm looking around, so we'll leave now. Good to see you all. Kind regards, Chris. Don't know what that was about, but he's obviously popped in and popped out again. Are there any more questions anybody would like to ask? On some of your models, Bob, did you get those from a particular photograph, or did you make the buildings from?
No, all the buildings down are really all scratch built. There's not one building on here that isn't scratch built. Probably the water tower is the only one. But quite simply, I found that paying, I did go to the States quite often at one time, and you're paying $70, $120 for a kit. When I had to go out making them from, all the buildings are made from coffee stirrers and cardboard. I do buy the windows, or some of the windows and doors, and you can make a building for about £4 at the most, compared with kit built. So, but everyone's scratch built, and that's really the part of the modelling I do enjoy. That and to work with coffee stirrers is just ordinary wood, so all you've got to do is stain it, and I only use acrylic paints, thin down. I can't understand when people go into all these, buy special paints to weather stuff with it and so on. I just use acrylic paints and thin down 20:1. They're great. The secret to that is when you do that, is not to go too thick. You know, start at 20:1, and you can always make things darker. It's very difficult to make things lighter once you've dulled them down. So
right. There's another question popped up. It would be helpful to have an overview of the size of your layout, the fiddle yard size and its operation, and how you build some of the rock faces, that part of the scenery.
Right. Well, the answer to that is unfortunate, and I'd absolutely love to have one. I haven't got a fiddle yard, so what I've got is the circle of track, and I've just built the new town, Cody, on the other side. I've just finished that. So it's virtually, Tony, the description, or did I send you a plan of the layout? It's basically a circle of track with 2 stations where I park wagons and trains and so on. I could do with a bit more parking space if you like, but unfortunately I'm stuck with 18x5 in the loft, so I haven't really got enough room to get a fiddle yard in, unfortunately. I would love to do that, and I've tried to think of any way of doing it, but it's just impossible with ON30 because the radius is you don't really want to go under 4 foot. So I'm stuck with what we've got really. But and then if we can move on to the rocks, I think you can see them behind me.
Yes.
Make that out there, Tony. But those are all cast. I bought rubber molds and went to the local pound shop, and I was buying pound filler like it was going out of fashion. And I think over there's something like 200 molds placed on top of polystyrene. I'd done the outline with polystyrene and just built it up as it went along, and it worked out well. It stood the test of time, actually. It's been up there 10 years in a loft that gets up to 120 degrees in the summer and down to freezing in the winter, and I've had no problems with cracking or anything like that. So, but I have on my exhibition layouts, if you look at them, I've used a foam from an old three-piece suite, which a guy in, I think his name was Steve somebody or other in Australia had invented, and he used upholstery foam, and that's excellent for exhibition layouts because it's nice and light. You can bang it and mess about with it and nothing happens to it. People come up and poke it and say, what have you made this out of? And it's spongy, so nothing happens. Where if you use this casting method on an exhibition layout, you're ending up with a layout that's going to weigh about 5 ton. So exhibiting is small layouts, nice and light. Go to the exhibition, get them up, and then if you've got to drive home, quick decamp and away you go, really. So did that answer all the questions there, Tony?
I think so. If there's any more, they can come back to us. The other question was, did you actually use any live locations for some of the?
Yeah, if you look at the High Line, and I don't know how well you can see that behind me, Tony. I'll try and. Can you see that any better? Is that any good to you? Well, that's the High Line. That is a copy of the High Line between Durango and Silverton on there. That narrow gauge line that runs from Durango right up to Silverton. It's absolutely fabulous ride, steam ride. I don't know, I expect a few of you have done it. And you go over what's called the High Line with the Animas River below you, 200 foot below you, and it just takes you back 100 years to the Old West, really. And it's well worth a visit if you can do that. But that I did copy. Everything else, I started off with Rio Grande and then gradually moved off that and went to this done and dusted, because I like freelance and I wanted to build my own station buildings and so on. And so I really went that way. But that is the only copy that's left of the original layout that was the Rio Grande. And I'm quite proud of that, actually. It's been in 1 or 2 modelling books and stuff. And it's very easy to do, actually. It's having the confidence to do it and having a loft that will carry the weight to the one end of the layout. But no, that's good.
Yeah.
I don't, can you see that there from Tony? I don't know how much you can see from there. Yeah, no.
Yes. It's very clever.
It's on the, you can see it quite clearly on the video I've sent you. So yeah.
Do you
build, sorry, Tony.
Do you build your own stock and locos and everything?
No, I kit bash and I weather everything. All the locos, the Bachmann. I've read some bad press about Bachmann locos, and I've never had a problem with them. Then there's only a couple got sound. I was under sound when it first come out, but after running for 10 minutes, I find it a bit, gets into your head a bit. So I have got a tape of loco sounds that I do play in the background sometimes if I'm on a running session where you can put it nice and low. But I wasn't really sold on sound, but they're all Bachmann. And I've had no problems with them. I was reading an article when one guy said
Bob, could I ask you to lower your screen your camera a bit?
Sorry, mate. Lovely picture of the
Lovely.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Sorry, you were saying.
There's a guy saying he was sort of saying that Bachmann locos weren't any good, but I've had 6 and I've had no problems with them. So, you know, I can only speak by what I've got, and I've had some of the locos 10 years and still running well. So, you know, how much do you want? I did read in an article this week that the guy said if you can get 100 hours out of a loco, you're doing well. Well, I think some of these have done 200 at least with exhibition running. But no, Tony, everything is weathered, or some of the Bachmann carriages are cut to 3/4 length. I've cut a chunk out the middle and joined them up so they look more narrow gaugey, if you like. And that's it really. There's and all the track is Pico, which again I've had no problems. Well, I have had problems when I find that the 480s sometimes have a problem getting over the points at times, and you have to keep them on the straight run, or else you get derailments. But that doesn't happen on every loco. There's 1 or 2 that do play up if they've got to come off the main line into a siding when the 480s, it's the 8-bit that comes off the track.
Yeah.
So, but that's I fixed it on most of them, but there's a lot of fiddling about there. So, anything else, Tony? I can answer.
Any more questions for Bob? There's nothing on the chat at the moment. What about your trees that you have on the layout, Bob? Have you made those from scratch?
Well, yeah, they're all made from scratch, Tony. That's my next venture for next winter. I'm going to try and build some reasonable fir trees. The ones I've built are all built by myself. But when you see some of these fabulous trees that these guys are building on YouTube, and I'm always looking on YouTube for layouts and stuff. And if you've ever looked at Sundance, the Sundance Railway, Tony?
No, I haven't. No, I haven't seen that.
Well, my recommendation to anyone here now is look at their layout. It's G-gauge, American, and it really is the best layout I've ever seen. Sundance Central, it's called. You can get it on YouTube quite easily, and I'm transfixed by it. If ever you want to look at a model railway for tips and great modelling, Sundance Central is the one to go to. It's fabulous.
Good. Any more questions? Has anybody got any questions that they'd like to put to Bob? They've all gone very quiet, Bob.
Yeah, all right. Okay. How's the show going anyway, Tony? Has it gone well? I've had 2 looks at it this morning.
I haven't had time to look yet. I had my grandson's birthday party this morning, so I was tied up with family affairs, and then I come on this afternoon to do some hosting for these question and answer sessions. So it's been I've been full on because there's one every half hour with a little break in between. So I haven't had a chance to look around yet. But of course, I would remind everybody there's 2 things to know. One is give your feedback at the end of the show, because that's important, so we know what you felt and how you enjoyed it. And 2 is that it is going to be available on View once the videos have all been collated for another month. So if you've missed anything today, don't worry about it. You'll be able to go back onto the Guild website and to see it all again. So if you, I know there's something like 20 odd layouts today running, and if you watch them all, it would take you over 9 hours to watch them all. So it's not likely that you'll watch them in the time scale of the show. So you'll be able to come back into it and pick and choose what you'd like to see and what you'd like to look at again, which is another advantage of having a Zoom show. It's not broken down and taken home at the end of the day. You can all come back and enjoy it again. Right. No, nobody's asked me any more questions so far.
Can I ask you a question then, Tony? How do you collate the numbers? Can you tell how many people have been online and watched the show? Can you count those up?
Yes, we do. We have in the background working today is the IT team and the web team, and they actually can look at how many people have entered the show from the front door. They can tell you which areas they've gone into and their numbers. A whole host of information comes back, and usually that it gets posted up on the website, and there's a report. We have a feedback session next Wednesday, and we get, over a period of a time, we get updates. So I can tell you the Love Lane layout that appeared on the first show, I forget now, it was about 12,000 hits it had by the end of the month, and they're still going on now. It's been opened up into YouTube, so everybody can see it, whether you're a guild member or not, and they're still getting lots and lots of views going in. So it's been very successful, and that's one of the reasons we like to record something. We like to keep it so that you can go back. There's a couple of recordings that were previously shown because the interest was so great. One of those was Andy Duncan, who was doing not how he cast things, which was his last evening with, but the previous show he did how to solder white metal, and lots of us have stayed away from it and not touched white metal because you touch it too hard and it melts and you get a big hole in it. What do you do? He actually explained it very carefully and thoroughly for a half-hour video, and it was excellent. And lots of people have asked to see that again. So it's actually on the show again today, because it's one of those useful things that overcomes all the problems that you find with something, that it isn't actually a dark secret. It's quite simple if you know what you're doing, and he explains it very well. So we will know, and we will get feedback from the IT team over the next few weeks as to how many people were here and what happened, and how many people viewed your layout, and how many people came and watched this question and answer session.
So the other question, unless there's any questions there, Tony.
No, there isn't at the moment.
Okay, can I ask you another question, if you don't mind? You having a show in Stafford? Is that this year? Did I see that the O-Gauge Guild are going to show in Stafford?
That's right.
Year?
Yes. The Guildex convention, the Guilds convention is going. Guildex 2021 is going to be at Stafford in September. That's right, provided we're allowed to by the government. It hasn't been decided what precautions we will have to take at that stage, and distancing and whatever, but we're hoping to have a normal show at Stafford. It will be a 2-day event as normal, and it will also include the AGM this year, so the AGM will be at Stafford. It's a bigger venue than Telford. It's a bigger hall than Telford. There's a lot more space there. There is a station nearby, and you can get transport to get there. And it will be a different show. They're putting some new features into it. There's lots of ideas coming out of all over the guild, what people would like to see. But hopefully some of the standard things that you expect when you go, like the bring and buy and things like that, and being able to chat to the guild gazette editor, or go and talk to the technical team, or have your loco checked out, all those things will be going on just as they've always done, hopefully. We do miss live shows. It's not quite the same with Zoom, but we're doing our best with Zoom. But there's nothing beats the camaraderie and being able to talk to somebody and meet them for the first time or for the 10th time. It doesn't matter. You just get together and have a natter, and that's what makes the show so successful.
Well, Stafford is only about 20 miles from where I live, so I'll probably be
very handy then.
If ever you need an ON30 exhibition layout, a small one, this year, next year, or sometime in the future, just give me an email, and I'll be happy to bring my latest layout up.
Right.
There.
We've got 16 people on participants now in the question and answer session. We've got just under 10 minutes left. Is there anybody else who would like to ask a question? If you're not sure about how to use chat, just unmute yourself and talk to me, and we'll get your question in front of Bob. But they're all being very quiet.
Right.
Oh.
Well, I don't bite. I don't mind being insulted. I'm easy going.
When you make, one of the topics you touched on slightly was when you've done exhibition layouts, one of the problems is always weight, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
And how big were those layouts that you built?
Well, they've all been in the region. The first one I've had was a split layout, which was fairly heavy. But they've all been about the same size, 6x4, so I can get them in the back of the car. Basically, that's the big
Yeah.
thing. I did originally have a trailer, but I found that every time I took the trailer out, it had to be a two-man job. Somebody had to give me a lift and so on. And I found that just putting the layout in the back of the car, didn't have to worry about anybody going with me. I usually got to the venue and people were only too happy to help you, cart the layout in and out and so on. And that work, it's easy for me and it's one less worry. Your big worry is that everything is going to work right and be right, Simon, because people are watching, they want to see things running. And I hate this finger poking that goes on at a lot of the layouts.
Yeah.
So yeah, as long as it worked right and it was easy to transport, build up, and it's a bit of a one-man show, if you like, Tony. It's when you're in a club, I think it's a different thing. You've got backup and people to help you if things go wrong. When you're on your own, you're doing the lot, and it's. But I've always had people be friendly and help me and so on. So no complaints.
Good. Any
And
final questions from anybody? I think there's quite a few people who haven't got their pictures on show, but it was a super video. I enjoyed it. Did you record that yourself on your own?
Yes, I did. That was that's quite old actually, Tony. I've had a new iPad since then, so I'm hopefully going to do one of the Cody, the Newtown, which I think looks quite good. The other side of the layout, which is sort of finished the whole circle off. I was asked by the Continental Modeler to send some photographs off at the start of this COVID thing. And unfortunately, they said that my photographs off the phone weren't good enough quality. And Steve, forget his surname now, somebody called Steve so-and-so.
Yeah.
He was going to come up and Steve Flint was going to come up and do some photos. But unfortunately, because of COVID, that hasn't happened. That's gone. So what I'm going to do, my next idea was I'm going to contact the local photographic society, and I'm sure that somebody on there will be only too pleased to come up and take a few photos for me that I can send off to Continental Modeler. So I hope that will be a right way around it. I have had 3 previous layouts in Continental Modeler going back 10 years or so, all exhibition layouts. I think this one appeared in there about a couple of years ago, but they want to see the latest version, if you like. So I'm hoping to get that done pretty soon.
Is there a particular aspect of what you do that you like best? Is it making buildings? Is it running the railway?
Absolutely. I love making buildings and building, if a diorama, if you like, Tony. I love doing that. I don't run the trains that often, unless we have visitors or my grandchildren want to come up, which is getting less and less. It's buildings and making an actionary diorama scene. That is what I enjoy doing, and that's what I love about O-Gauge. Actually, if you go to any O-Gauge exhibition, as you know, you can always see lots of detail.
Yeah.
And that you can seem to get, the figures always seem better presented and better painted just because the size is larger. I'm not decrying 00, but you've got so much more room, if you like, to paint your figures and make a better job of it with O-Gauge. And you look at the detail on some of these layouts, it's fantastic. I'll spend an hour looking at a layout and then go back an hour later and have another look, and you'll see things you've never seen
before. Well, I think you've captured it very well with your layout, I must admit. I think we would all agree it's a stupendous effort.
Well, I'll keep adding bits to it, Tony. There's I'll go around and think I can add a bit there. I'm running out now of ideas at the moment. It's going to be trees next year, so it's sit in front of the television, and while my wife's doing her embroidery and knitting, I'll be doing trees.
You'll be doing trees.
Yeah.
Last opportunity, anybody? We've got a couple of minutes left. Anybody want to ask a question of Bob?
Hi, this is Stuart.
Hi, Stuart.
Hey, I'm ringing just to say that I think this idea of zooming the O-Gauge is brilliant. It really is coming up to date, if you understand what I mean. I tried the first one. I was really pleased with that. And now this one seems to be better quality and works easier as well.
Good.
I think it was a great idea. What did I also wanted to say something else. Typical at this age, you sort of think about it and then forget it. Almost instantly.
I know all about that, Stuart.
But no, what I wanted to ask basically was, what was it that drove you, well, us basically, to deal with model railways at all? I often hear people saying they want to recreate the past, or they like the detail, or and I've been trying to figure out what is it actually I like about it. And the nearest I get to it is that I'm sort of a bit fascinated by my own small world in a way. I don't know how others have it.
Bob, do you have a view on that?
Well, I think going to how I started, Stuart, was I started off with planes, and I went to model boats, which you probably spend a couple of years building a model boat, a sailing boat. And I thought, well, they don't move, and you put them on the windowsill or a shelf somewhere, and you look at them occasionally. And then I thought, well, railways actually move, and you can create your own world. And I think these days, in this sad world we live in at times, it's nice to go into your own world, which is yours, and nothing's going to go wrong. You haven't got to worry about COVID, you haven't got to worry about this. And it's nice to go there and you've got your own little empire. You can do what you like in there. Nobody's going to come and moan, or, you know, you haven't got to wear a mask or so on upstairs in the loft. And I think that's the enjoyment of it. And they also from my experience of going to shows, is there's an awful lot of nice people be there, help you out with advice and so on, and a lot of friendship. And I think a lot of the guys at our age who have seen a better world in some ways, if you like, we used to go train spotting in our day, we didn't know what a computer was, and they were happy days. And I think in some ways it takes us back to that. I don't know if you agree with that, Tony or Stuart, but I think you can go up there and your empire's running and you're the boss, if you like.
I think I would agree with that. When I was a young lad, I used to go to school on a tram. If anybody remembers what a tram was, it's a happy memory, you know. I have a model of running O-Gauge, just to remind me how good it was in the old days. But yeah, we always look back on our youth in fondness, don't we? And railways was always part of that for me. You know, I remember the steam trains, and my grandmother and father getting on the steam train and travelling on the steam train. It was great fun. Right, we've now had the half hour. Bob, thank you very much. It's been very enjoyable. Great insight to your layout and what you do. And on behalf of everybody, we're very grateful to you.
Well, thank you, Tony. It's been a pleasure to do it. It's my first Zoom meeting, really, that I've been involved in. So hope everything goes okay for the show. I'm still looking at it. I'll go back and have another look at it when we've finished.
Yeah. And
good luck for the rest of the day.
Right. Well, my next session of question and answers will be to John Castle from Castle Garage. So that starts at 2:30. So in another quarter of an hour. So if you want to come along to that, you're more than welcome. In the meantime, I'll leave you all with a final thank you to Bob for his presentation and taking his questions. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you very much, Tony. Bye-bye.
Yep.
Bye now.
Bye.